Some Rift news, games coming to Linux, development on Crytek, and more. This is WSGF News, episode 16. I'm Simon. Chris this week couldn't be with us, so we're back at my place, but with the nice recording equipment, so that's really cool. Hopefully I'm not too blurry like last time. Hashtag blame Peanut. But yeah, hopefully you've noticed that I'm wearing my QuakeCon shirt. This week is QuakeCon. So those of you going to QuakeCon, hopefully you're going to have some fun. Oh, there's no doubt about it. You're going to have some fun. QuakeCon's been around for a while. It's been 2 years since I've been, and I miss it. So have some fun for me. Those of you at home, Steam tends to do some QuakeCon themed Steam sales, at least the past 2 years, if I can remember correctly. So keep on a lookout of those. Maybe get some more games that you missed this Steam summer sale. But yeah, like I said, have fun at QuakeCon if you're going, and if not, have fun still. So let's start out with some Oculus Rift news. But before we do that, I want to direct your attention to a forum post that was posted a few days back on the WSGF from Anne Sinyard, who is a student research assistant at MacEwan University in Alberta, Canada. I want to double check on that. What they're doing is trying to see how dreams are affected by the VR experience you would get from the Oculus Rift. And there's some links on a survey. It is a lengthy survey, and I know some people have talked with me about that on the IRC. I've actually emailed back and forth once or twice with Anne Sinyard, just asking about the interview. But if you've had experience with the Oculus Rift, I really encourage you to check out this survey to kind of help what they're working on up in Canada. Now, going on to some actual news about the Oculus Rift. So the Dev Kit 2 is coming out. Now, there was a forum post on the Oculus forums talking about screen tearing. It's very noticeable. Now, with the DK1, it was in plane. It was or landscape mode. So the tearing would happen this way, so it wouldn't be as visible, they're saying. But now the screens are oriented in a portrait mode, and so now you're getting tearing like this, and it's much more noticeable this way than it is this way. And so Cyber Reality, who I assume is Andres Hernandez, is saying that you need to have VSync on in order to use the Oculus Rift Dev Kit 2 properly, or to its fullest potential, and to get rid of that noticeable tearing. So that may be something, if you're interested in the Oculus Rift and buying computer parts, you may have to get something a little beefier, so that way you can do VSync and it won't have a input delay. Just something to think about. Now, more news about VR. There was a former Valve VR, I want to look up his name first before I say, I'm going to feel bad. Okay, Fabian Giesen, he posted kind of his thoughts on the future VR and how he thinks it isn't a good thing. He's saying that, I think it's what he means when he says I think VR is bad news. He's talking about the social aspect and the social distance you put with other people when you're using VR, specifically, well, not specifically, but with the Oculus Rift, Valve's in-house VR, or any sort of other VR system. So it's kind of isolating yourself from the social experience. So he has a letter he posted on GitHub, or someone posted on GitHub, where he talks about it, and he also has posted in there his kind of resignation letter from Valve explaining why. So it's an interesting read. But the big things I got from it was kind of social isolation by strapping kind of a mounted headset on your face and going into a world where you don't have to really physically interact with people. You're still interacting, but not in a way that you would normally do so. Now, my takes on this reminds me back to that YouTube popular video about putting down your phone. I think there's a give and take. Some social isolation through technology like this is a good thing because it opens up the world to you. I think some of and I posted this on my personal Facebook at one point, and I know Aussie Tim kind of commented on it a little bit, but so I have some, I guess, relationships, experiences that are as meaningful or more meaningful than my personal experience, like personal interactions. So I think it's a give and take. I think we have to adjust with the times. Like I said, it's an interesting read. We'll link it below, or I'll link it below, so you can read it and kind of form your own opinions on it. I'd like to hear what you think about it. But I mean, with any sort of new and developing technologies, there is going to be some sort of kind of give and take, some sort of adjustment period with it. It's like, going from cave drawings to photograph or paintings, and paintings to photographs to motion picture, silent motion picture, adding color and all that. There's going to be some some resistance to it. It's all in the user not abusing it, I think. So, like, once again, we'll link it below. You tell me what you think. Is VR going to kill this? Are we going to be like Lieutenant Commander Barclays and suffer from holodeck syndrome? I think it's Lieutenant Commander. I hope I just didn't lose my my Trek cred. Lieutenant Barclay. But yeah, are we going to suffer from holodeck syndrome where we'd rather be in the simulation rather than the actual world itself? Tell me what you think. So let's talk about some Linux games. We're going to start out with our list of games that are rumored to be developing on Linux, all the way to games that have some sort of beta being worked on at this moment. So first on our list is Worms Clan Wars. Worms Clan Wars, it was noticed on steamdb.info that on their OS list little tag, Linux was added to that. So it's nothing official. I couldn't find anything that was, hey, we're working on Linux. It was just kind of, boop, there it is. So there's some sort of interest in it, looks like, from the Worms guys. Now, moving on, it looks like a Linux port of Terraria is being, it's on the flight plan, I guess. So right now they're working on a Mac port, Mac port of Terraria. It was posted on their forums that the programmer, I think it's pronounced Skiffs, he posted a screenshot of him messing around on Terraria in a Mac environment. Now, Scenics, who I believe it's Whitney Scenics Baird, who is the creative director for the team that does Terraria. I believe it's Relogic. She was quoted saying on the forums that once he is done, he referring to Skiffs, once he is done with the Mac port, he will be looking at Linux. So it's on the flight plan. It's, hey, we're going to look at it at least. So that's a good thing. Moving on, the Darksiders Twitter, it was posted a screenshot of Darksiders Linux posted. So they said from our labs, and it showed the picture, and it's a picture of a Windows a windowed environment in Linux. I can't tell which version of Linux it is, but it says on the top, Darksiders Linux. So that's really, really cool. Darksiders 1 is going to come to Linux, or at least they're working on it as we speak. Moving on. So, Witcher 2 Assassins of Kings Edition, or Assassins of Kings Enhanced Edition, the Linux public beta has been open. So it was said by, I think, let's see if I can pronounce his name, Peter Mulholland. I'm sorry if I'm slaughtering the names. I'm horrible with names. But he posted on the Steam community for Witcher 2 that we have just set up a beta on Steam called Linux public beta. This is where we're going to be posting our betas of work in progress so far. This beta contains the following: multi-monitor support, improved support for gamepads and workarounds for problems in XPad, improved stability, the game should crash a lot less now, we'll still see the occasional crash on exit inside the NVIDIA driver. We're working on finding out if this is an issue with the 331.38 driver or with our code. So really, really cool. Not only are they working on Linux with Witcher 2, they're working on multi-monitor support for Linux, Witcher 2, amazing. So that's really, really exciting news that Witcher 2 is, the team's working on that. Also, since they're working on, or they're finishing up Witcher 3. So a lot of cool things coming from that. So a lot of cool things coming Linux-wise for the gaming community. You know, we've always talked about how we're excited about Linux with the Steam OS, Linux becoming more popular in general. So this is great news for the operating system. So, of course, we're going to keep track of any game being developed on Linux or being thought of to be developed on Linux or even be considered to develop on Linux. If there's anything we miss games-wise, let us know in the comments. Post down below, hey, you forgot this game. So, like I said, we're excited. We're really, really excited about the development of the Linux platform in the gaming world. So we've reported about Crytek a couple times in this podcast, mainly with their announcement of CryEngine being developed and ported over to Linux natively. Now, they've had some kind of internal rumblings and internal issues, so there's been some instability with the company, and there's some more instability that's come across. Most recently, the game director for Homefront: The Revolution, Mr. Hazet Zala, has resigned from Crytek UK. So that was the game that we had talked about when they announced it, that would come out at release on Mac, PC, and Linux. So we were really excited about that, some sort of cross-platform PC gaming. So it's another hit for the company. And so it makes me wonder what's going to happen with the company, especially with their their big game coming out and the game director resigning. Now, I didn't realize this, but CryEngine is used by several different other game companies, and I didn't realize that Star Citizen is one of the companies that uses CryEngine. I had to go look that up. I think someone posted on Reddit that I saw, so I did some research into it. So, I mean, that's some kind of hope for Crytek. Maybe what needs to happen, or what's going to happen, is it's going to downsize, and they'll be able to come back from that. Who knows? I just seeing a company that supports Linux, especially with the upcoming Steambox and just advancement and popularity of Linux platform growing, something like this happening, I'm just kind of sad, I guess, to see a company like this kind of get hurt. So hopefully they'll just downsize. They won't collapse completely, and we'll lose this sort of forefront runner for the Linux platform. But we'll see. Like we said, we will keep you informed of any development with Crytek and the CryEngine. So best of luck to the company. I hope everything works out. They get to a stable point. But we'll see how that unfolds. So we've been talking a lot about Dota 2 and the International coming up, especially with that huge prize pool they've got going. Well, there was an interview by, I think it's prodota2.ru, with Mr. Erik Johnson from Valve about the International and how they could take that model and apply it to Counter-Strike Go. And he was quoted saying in this interview that, quote, "I don't see any reason why a lot of the same things couldn't be applied directly to Counter-Strike." So it's very, very exciting for Counter-Strike players to see some sort of like acknowledgement from Valve that we could develop the competitive scene for CS:GO using the Dota 2 model. Well, I mean, especially with the decline of the Cyber Amateur League, where a lot of players did play in the Counter-Strike 1.6, Counter-Strike Go. So hopefully with their model of Dota 2, it could be applied to, and they will take it and apply it to sort of the Counter-Strike scene. Because I know the Counter-Strike scene is just, much like Dota 2, is just designed for competitive play. Team versus team sort of situation. And a lot of people play Counter-Strike still. I think we said last time the top 3 games that are being played on Steam at the moment were Dota 2, Counter-Strike, and Team Fortress 2. I can't remember if Team Fortress 2 was second or third, and Counter-Strike Go was second or third. But still, I mean, there is a big interest in the Counter-Strike Go community to play the game. Now, what Counter-Strike Go has different from Dota 2 is that it's pay to you have to pay to buy the game and play the game. It's not free to play like Dota 2 is. So I don't know if that would change things with Valve and doing some sort of international-esque competition with Counter-Strike Go, but it would just be interesting to see the encouragement and advancement in the competitive scene for Counter-Strike. So, I mean, like I said, it was just kind of a off-the-cuff comment. They're not going to, I think he said, well, we wouldn't call it, the international. They'd call it something else. But I think that shows interest in the community from Valve. So hopefully, within, maybe a year or 2 years, or pretty soon, we'll see some sort of push from Valve to develop some sort of competitive scene in-house rather than having something like Cyber Amateur League, Cyber Professional League, I think ESL, or was it the IESL, some sort of different community other than Valve kind of pushing the competitive scene. So, sort of speculation, just kind of one part of the interview. We'll link the entire interview. I think it's like a 30-minute interview he does. And he doesn't just talk. The pro Dota.ru guy does not just talk with Erik Johnson, just specifically about that part of Counter-Strike. So really interesting to see that interview going on. Now here's a bit of news that completely passed me by. I'm kind of excited about, just a little. I'm glad I ran to Skip and he mentioned this to me. Posted on Lawrence Herb, better known as Major Nelson from Windows, on his blog post, on his blog site, he posted that now available for the PC are Xbox One controller drivers. Super, super exciting. I know I've been stuck with actually a kind of nice gold 360 controller. But those of you who have a Xbox One and really like the controller, you now can use it on your PC. The only downside is I believe there is no wireless option for the computer. I know with go back to this controller, I have one of those Windows wireless dongles that kind of emulates the Xbox wireless controller system for the Xbox. But there's no option for that. So what you have to do is connect it via micro USB, I believe it is. So those of you with Xbox One controllers and really, really, really want to use it for your PC, now is the time. You're welcome. Like I said, it completely passed me by. And once again, I want to thank Skip for bringing this to my attention. So that way I can bring it to you. So, couple announcements before we end. First of all, if you're like me, you've tried using the forums on your cell phone, really, really hard to do. I didn't realize that the WSGF is Tapatalk enabled. So, if you don't know, Tapatalk is a free app on the Play Store, the iOS Store, so you can easily view and browse certain forums. Now, you can link your forum account to Tapatalk so you can post, you can send messages, you can see what's going on. For me, I have, read, unread, participated, timeline, which, does every forum. So you can see new posts. I even have on mine, maybe hard to see, but moderation. So I can moderate things being an editor. So it completely syncs with the WSGF forums. Free app makes it easier if you're on the go like me, want to view the posts, want to comment to the post. It makes it a lot easier. I want to thank Skip for pointing this out to me as well. So we'll link below to the app for both the Apple Store and the Android Store. Secondly, do your DRs. I know I've been slacking a little bit, and I'm going to try and take this week during my spare time to make some new DRs. But we need your help. We want to become the biggest repository of fixes and kind of grading for games. So I know I can't believe I forgot to do this, but I forgot to do the Watch Dogs. So I'm going to try and do Watch Dogs this week. I've just called myself out on it, so I'm going to do it now. So if you have any games that you want to do, you want to see, or they're not on the DRs, just quickly search, hey, I'm going to play this game. Oh, look, it's not on the DR. I'm going to take some screenshots. I'm going to upload it. It makes it easier, and it makes the rest of the world a better place. So be sure you do your DRs. Now, also, we always talk about post your battle stations. I know a couple of y'all have actually posted your battle stations, and I want to hold off this week on looking at the battle stations for when Chris comes back. So that way we can do it a joint effort. I know he really, really likes looking at battle stations as much as I do. So, we want to do this together because I want to make a 2015 WSGF community calendar with featuring people's battle stations. And if we get way too many submissions, which I hope we do, we'll kind of do a community vote, and we'll vote on the top 12 battle stations, and we'll feature them on the calendar. So post your battle stations. Also, join me, Chris, and everyone else in the world, or everyone else who is a WSGF fan, in Social Saturdays. I've posted about it on the forums. I sat in the Mumble this week and no one was there. No one jumped on. Jump on the WSGF Mumble. If you don't have it, download Mumble. We'll link it below. Join the WSGF Mumble. We'll link that below. I believe it's voice.mumble or voice.wsgf.org. Connect to that. Join up. It's a free Mumble service. I know some people use TeamSpeak, some people use Ventrilo, but this is Mumble. It's free, and we have a free server for you to use and abuse. So do it, and I will see you on Saturdays, or at least hear you on Saturdays on the Mumble. Now, to make Social Saturdays a lot easier, join the WSGF Steam page. I know on the upper left we have a link to the Steam page for the WSGF. So when we're playing games on Social Saturdays and we want to get together and try and make it easier, it's going to make it easier for us to join each other's games when we're all added on the same group, and we can just go, oh, join, join, join. So join the Steam group for Social Saturdays. I will see you Saturday, and if not, I will see you next week. This has been WSGF News. I am Simon. You can find me on Twitter at TheDestroyerFTW. You can find Chris at Computer Lasco, and you can find the main WSGF Twitter at WSGF. Once again, this is episode 16 of WSGF News. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week.